when
Sure.
you asked that question about the refund, I was like, I went back and looked at it. I was like, I think
Well, I
we're
know for
good.
one thing, I was thinking I gave like the top level numbers because I go into host away and it
Yeah.
just tells me revenue. And
Mm.
obviously, subtracting the cleaning fees is a big chunk.
Expenses. Yeah.
And
Right.
so and that wouldn't have been reflected in my top level number that I threw out there. And then I forgot that Rob and he did it. He's had another one this year. He had surgery last year on one of his shoulders and he just got, so we'll have that like, I guess it looks like unemployment, but it's
Oh, yeah.
short-term
I did see
disability
that.
and FMLI. And yeah, so he'll have that
Yeah.
again next year. So, and then
And
we
also,
are under contract on that Florida house.
oh, did you?
Obviously, this is the third
Also,
time we've been under contract.
nice.
So I'm like, we'll see. Um, but
Did they
I'll
fall out of
definitely want to.
contract?
What's that?
Were they in contract with somebody else? Did they fall out and then
It's
come back?
been under contract 4 times now, and it's never the
Wow.
house's fault. Like two of them were us, and it was financing issues. The first time we went under contract, at the very last minute, the lender was like, "I want 10% down instead of 5," and I'm like, "Well, we can't do it because we don't have enough money to do like you have to make them pretty, right, and buy all the
Yeah.
furnishings and all of the
Right.
things."
Yeah.
And then the second time, my lender, who I use all the time, she takes on too much, but she always has the best rates, and so I always use her, and she always gets it over the finish line even though people white knuckle it. Well, she's 9 months pregnant and she ended up in the hospital, almost like died. And, all of it. And she's doing 5,000 deals a day. So the realtor on the other side got anxious because she felt like she was dropping balls, which she was, but I know her and I know she'd get it done. They don't. And they got into it, the two of them, and she quit. My lender was like, "I'm not doing this deal for you, Amy. I'm sorry, I'm not working with that realtor." I was like,
Dang.
crap. And I was like, I didn't have it in me to just go through that whole thing with another lender. Like, you just, all the
Yeah.
paperwork and all the stress and the
Yeah.
headaches. And so I was like, fine, I'm done. And then, as I said before, because you kept saying the right lender will lend it back or will add it back in. And I
Yeah.
had a hard time finding somebody. So I'm like, well, I'll just wait until this year's taxes, thinking that they
Yeah.
would look better. And then when I saw I was
Yeah.
getting all that back, I was like, well, I, and it really is Greek to me. When I scroll through all those pages, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to look. So I just sent it
Yeah.
in to
Yeah.
another lender that somebody said
Mm.
understood the short-term rental, business and all of the things. And he's like, "Yeah, I got it. You're fine." And I was like,
Oh,
"Okay." So
that's
we made
good.
another
That's good
offer.
to know. I didn't see any. The only variances I would have seen, which I think I did mention to you, were
Yeah,
there's
the auto.
yes, the auto, yes, for sure. If we wanted to like adjust some
Hmm.
deductions, but even then, so on Schedule E on your rentals, you had rolling depreciation from previous years, right? So
Hmm.
you're not exhausting it completely. So I'm glad to
Is
hear
there
it.
still some left? Do you remember off the top of your head? I don't know how that works.
Yeah. So any of the any of the cost eggs we did in 23 tax year,
Hmm.
remember that at that time bonus was only 80%, not 100%.
Hmm.
So that 5 year asset, the remaining 20% is over remaining 4 years.
Okay. Okay.
It kind of continues rolling on. So you've got some slight benefit every year. So
Okay. And then, so obviously, we'll do a cost segregation on this Florida house if
you also
we end up with it, and that'll probably be a pretty big one because it's a $650,000 house.
mhm.
And we'll be doing some work to it and stuff. So I'm anticipating that'll help this coming year.
Yeah,
How many
yeah.
years do you need to hold on to a property so that you don't have to pay a bunch of money back?
Recapture. 2 to 5 is my threshold.
Oh, that's
Why are
not
you
too
thinking?
bad. Okay.
No. Are
Okay.
you thinking about liquidating anything?
No, no. I
No.
just always get really nervous. Like, we're in a
Yeah.
lot of debt, and I take on more debt
Mhm.
every time we buy one of these properties. And I
Mhm.
always feel this like I feel like this teeter totter of being too aggressive and overextending ourselves, but we're
Mhm.
also in our 50s, and the whole goal is to try to get to retirement. And so if I
Yeah.
slow roll and wait until I have cash every time for all these down payments and all of the furnishings, then I feel like I'm never going to get there. So I
Yeah.
always, worst case, my husband gets mad at me because I'm always going worst case scenario, but I'm like, worst case
Yeah.
scenario, if we've dug our hole too deep, we can
Yeah.
sell one and pay off
Yeah.
debt and be fine. So
Right.
that's why I was curious. Hopefully, we would not have to,
Are
but
there any of your assets that have a decent amount of equity now?
only one. I mean, they all have a little bit, like I'd say maybe 30 to 50,000. But the first one we got, I think we owe maybe 320 or something like that. And I'd say we get somewhere between 575 and six. So that's the one that has a good chunk. And I think not that it'll have a ton of equity, but I think that that property that we're getting in Florida is really awesome. I think it's not even a diamond in the rough, but I think what we do to it will, in talking to the realtor who I've got to know her and I trust that she's not just blowing smoke. I think not that we're going to have 150 grand in there, but I think if we had to resell that one, I think we'd probably be fine
Have
too.
some equity there.
That one's just a big question mark for me, A, because it's so expensive, B, it's a market I'm not really familiar with. And
What
C,
market is it?
it's St. Augustine, Florida area,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
it's inland, about half an hour from St. Augustine, but it's not like river views, but you can walk 2 blocks and put a kayak in the water, and it's
okay,
5 minutes to a boat launch, and that's a big major river that leads all the way to the ocean. So I think
gotcha.
but there's no good comps. Like, and I'm like, why does nobody have short-term rentals in this area? Is it because they've tried and failed, or is it just because nobody's thought of it? And I guess we're gonna find out.
Mm,
But
yeah,
we love the house for us. So our idea
yeah.
is it will be our retirement home.
Hmm.
In fact, I've got to somehow make myself live down there a little over 6 months total this year to make it my primary, right?
Oh,
So I'm gonna go
yeah,
down, and it'll take 3 or 4 months probably just to get it up and running, and I'll just live down
yeah.
there then, and then, get enough in there to make me honest in my
For your lending, I think that you're sidebarring here, but your stays in the house until you go into service are fine, but just be mindful of your personal use after you go into service.
Yes, yes. Because you can
Yeah,
only have you have to have like
yes.
length of stays. So what I was gonna do is I was probably gonna just stay in it for like 6 months and a few days and then launch
Mhm.
it, so that because
Yeah,
that'll work, right? As long as it's
yeah.
like, and then it goes okay.
Yeah, should be good. The test, and just to kind of reiterate that the test is it's 10% of days rented or 14 days. So in a partial year like
10%.
this,
Okay.
it's a greater of, right? So if you only rent it for 20 days, 10% of that would be 2 days. So it's a greater of 2 or 14 for
Okay.
14 days. But if in a normal year, let's say you rent it for 200 days, then 10% would be 20, greater of 14 or 20. So you can have 20 personal days. You kind of follow what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
So until you go into service, it's all kind of CapEx. You're not really starting to count your personal use days. But I think that's a good plan. It's like get all your personal days from a lender's perspective to get it up and running. And then once you launch, then you kind of be mindful of your personal use thereafter.
Yeah, no, that's good to know because I hadn't thought about that. I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know it was so few. And then it's going to be tricky, right? Because I don't know how many days we're going to rent it. You're not going to like be able to know at least until a year goes by and you kind of have a gauge. We'll
Yeah,
see. I'm hoping because even I figure even if we have to put a little bit of our own money in it every month, as long as it's not a ton, we're willing to do
yeah,
that because we do want it for ourselves eventually.
yeah. Hmm.
But we'll see. We don't even know if we'd like living there, right? So we're like, well,
Yeah,
worst case, we move there, we live there for a few years, and we're like, yeah, not our jam.
I
We can
love it.
always rent it or sell it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it just has to be in service if we're gonna do the depreciation on it this year. But you have, I mean, it's only
Yeah.
smart. You have the better part of the year to get it up and
Yes,
running
it
and
has
renting
to
out.
be, you have to have a handful of days before the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm property manager that I'm talking to for that one, not for my other ones, just because that's the other piece of it too, is there's only so much I can handle and it might be
Yeah,
fine, but I've never managed one remotely. And I'm like, if I'm having to throw $1,000 at it and I'm stressed and working my butt off for it, that's a harder pill to swallow than it's totally in somebody else's court and I'm having to
yeah.
throw a little money at it. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, let's talk further once you've got the deal settled, because we need to think about tax things with the property manager, because it might actually
Mhm.
kick you out of the non-passive and throw you into the passive bucket. We don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
let's get past the asset purchase and then mid-year we can connect, kind of see where things are at.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Amy. I'll talk to you
Yeah.
soon.
Have a good one.